Did you know there are 10 common mistakes that many Etsy sellers are making that might be causing their shops to fail or not do as well as they'd hoped for? Let's talk about them and see if anything you're doing's on the list. Hey, I'm Pam Duthie. I have been selling on Etsy for over a decade. I have made all the mistakes in trying to make my shop grow, so I want to share them with you so that you don't have to make the mistakes. Let's get started. Mistake number 1, and a real biggie that people make that causes their shop to fail, is simply their expectations. We've probably all been there. You start your shop, you make your first listing, you think, that's it, I've put a listing up, it'll sell, I'll make more stuff, and basically my income is only dedicated by how much stuff I can make. You have an expectation that you list something and it'll sell. And I want to tell you that's not the case. Now, I'm not telling you this so you give up straight away. I'm telling you this so you don't give up. The majority of sellers do not make sales in their first week. They probably don't make sales in their first month. In fact, 95% of sellers on Etsy have not made 1,000 sales yet. So the majority of sellers on Etsy are not making a full-time living. Now, that's not to say that you can't. That's not to say to totally give up right now before you even get started. Also, the majority of sellers are not learning about SEO. They're not coming to videos like these. They're not trying to learn. They just put up their listing, expect it'll sell, and come away. So I just want you to have the expectations, the understanding that it might take a while to grow. There's a lot to learn, but you have the chance of an entire worldwide market, so you really have the chance, if you put the work in and keep your expectations sensible, you have the chance of doing really well. Mistake number 2 is not making any changes. You might have figured it out. Your shop might have been doing really well. You put up your listings, you know what you're doing, and you just keep on doing the same thing. Not making any changes is a great way in any kind of retail to fail. Your customers are constantly changing. What's fashionable is constantly changing. Your competition, other people coming onto the site, is constantly changing. So we have to constantly be changing a little bit at a time, seeing what's working, seeing what's no longer working, making little changes, experimenting with new ranges. If you're not making changes, you're not standing still, you're going backwards. You have to constantly be doing a little something all the time. But also the complete opposite, mistake number 3, is making too many changes, making all the changes at once. Now, this especially happened last year when Etsy released its Ultimate Guide to Search, a fantastic document explaining about the SEO. It's a great document. But the problem is, people took this not as Etsy saying we're constantly make changes, here's the line in the sand, here's where things are just now, but people took that to mean that Etsy had made a big change and we all had to make a step change. So they went in and they changed hundreds of listings in their shop all in one day, and then were surprised when things totally tanked. So yes, you want to keep making changes, but keep making changes to the things that aren't working. Do not touch your best performing items until they stop being your best performing items. And even then, even when working on your poorly performing items, don't make all the changes at once. Don't keep going in and changing every day. Make a change, note what that change is, note when you made that change, and then see what the difference is over a period of weeks. Now, eRank actually has a fantastic tool for monitoring the effects of your changes. I actually made a video about that, but you can go in and tell it to monitor certain items just before you're going to make a change. So if you monitor the item a week, 10 days before you make the change on that item, it'll take a snapshot every day showing you how many views, how many hearts, how many sales you get on that item. You make your change, it'll take a snapshot and show you what changes you made, what's different about the title, what's different about the tags, etc. And then it will keep snapshotting every day, so you'll see if you're getting more views than you were before or less views. Mistake number 4 is no or ineffective SEO. I know SEO, search engine optimization, sounds like such a massive deal, and it is. It's a big learning curve. There's a lot to learn here, but if we think about it as just SEO is us telling Etsy what we believe our items are so they can serve them up to the correct buyers. So this means you want to, rather than just put up a listing and it says beautiful blue picture called serendipity, nobody's going to be searching for that. So think your titles and your tags work together to tell Etsy who to show you for. So you want to do a little bit of research to find out what are going to be the best terms. I have a ton of videos on this if you want to check out the playlists. Mistake number 5. Copying big shops. Now, while it is a good thing to have a look at the other people in your competition, to be aware of them and see what you're doing, sometimes it's all too easy to want to just jump in and say, well, my titles and tags are almost exactly the same as this big shop. Why is it that I'm not being seen? Well, there's a few reasons for this. This bigger shop has a history on Etsy. They know, like, trust each other. Etsy knows that this shop has a history of selling, it has a history of good customer experience. So it's more likely if it puts up that listing, then the customer's going to buy it. So if that's the case, then Etsy's going to show that listing a whole lot more. And not only that, with that bigger ranking power, with that bigger experience, that bigger history, then this shop does naturally have more ranking power. So it might be able to dominate a search that at the minute your little shop's not able to. Added to that, with more history, it's likely this shop has a following on other places, mailing lists, social media. So when they put up a listing, they're able to drive a lot of more people to that item. So again, that gives them more power to rank for more competitive terms. So I'm not saying it's a bad thing to aim for some competitive terms, for words, for phrases that shoppers are using to look for things, but don't just wholesale copy the big guys. You might not be quite in the same league, so be inspired by them, check what they're doing and what they're saying, and then experiment and test to find out if you can actually rank for these things, if you compete for them. Mistake number 6. You might just have the wrong items. I know this is a harsh fact, but we all make mistakes when we start up. All entrepreneurs have mistakes, have failed businesses, have failed ideas behind them. So it might be that you wanted to start your business with certain items, but they're just not resonating with the customers. Or you're wanting to make a living off of the thing you're making, but the thing you're making doesn't have the economic impact. It can't make that same amount of money. There's certain things that in general people don't just pay for the right price. Things like cross stitch. Now if you create small cross stitches for cards or little pictures for baby's room or whatever, you can get the money for your time out of that if there's something a bit different. If you create fantastic massive works of art from your own design, you can make the money out of that. But if you're completing cross stitch kits that anyone else can buy, it's a lot of work, and the chances of someone paying a proper decent hourly wage for you to do that is not so likely. It's exactly the same with other things like knitwear, etc. That's a lot of work, and people don't necessarily, for a basic pair of gloves, if they can buy that machine made from somewhere else for a cheaper price, they might not see the point, see the value in your hand creating it. However, if you tried with more exclusive fibres or a more eye-catching pattern, just standing out and being different is better than being the best, then people are going to see you. You've got more of a chance of your items selling for a better price, for a better hourly wage for you. Mistake number 7, photography. Or specifically not caring all that much about your photography. Now, I don't want to whinge too much, but whenever I make a video on here about photography, it gets the lowest number of views. People are just not interested in researching about photography, and I'm going to say this is one of the biggest things, because firstly, your customers It's not like in a normal bricks and mortar shop. They can't see your item, they can't touch it, they can't feel it. So your photographs have to convey to them that this is what your item is. This is super important. This is it from all the angles they'd want to see. This is how big it is. This is what the surface looks like. The photographs have to show that. Not only that, they have to inspire the buyer. When they're looking through a page of 20 items, it has to pop out and they go, "Ooh, I like the look of that one." You can tell them how they would be using the item as well, because there are some things, I've done it myself, I'm sure you've all done it, when you're searching, you're like, what on earth is that? If you place it in context, people can see how it's to be used. And the final and most important one is to do really, really well selling online. You want to go viral. And to go viral, that means other people are so inspired by your pictures that they share your item. They share it lots on Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook. It gets passed around, it gets seen everywhere. And if you look at the items that are going viral, if you look at the things that pop up on your Facebook page, they might not be the best items in the world, but boy, they've got good photography. So don't just dump your items on a table, take a picture and go, that's good enough. Borrow the person down the street to model for you. Go out to a beautiful location. Hire your friend's kid who's doing a photography course. Do what it takes to attempt to improve your photography. Mistake number 8, ignoring your shop. You've put up your listings, you've done a bit of SEO, your photographs are even quite good. So you put up your listings and they're going to last 4 months, so you just leave them there. If no orders are coming in, you don't do anything to your shop. Search engines actually prefer constant activity. So rather than every 4 months you do 4 hours worth of work in one day sitting down in your shop, it's much better if you do 10-20 minutes every day. So sitting down with your morning coffee, just make it a routine that you go in and do something in your shop. Renew a listing that's nearly expired, change some titles, experiment with something, respond to your customers obviously, but do a little in your shop every day. Mistake number 9, wasting your energy complaining. Okay, I'm kind of complaining in this video, but if you go in any of the groups or any of the forums, even on Etsy, you will see pages of people complaining. Sales are down today, sales are down this week, sales are down this month, is Etsy dying, it's terrible. And you can sit in these forums and you can listen to all of this and you can really get into your head and say, well, Etsy must be failing. Look, there's 20 people saying what a terrible time they've had today. There's complaints, there's people talking about changes which you didn't even know were happening because, you know, most of the time it's not. Something's happened in someone's shop and they assume it's because Etsy's made a change. So sitting around in an echo chamber, sitting around with a bunch of people talking about how everything's failing is wasting your energy rather than hearing... Now, don't get me wrong, right? If there's a genuine problem, absolutely go to the forums, ask for help with the things, speak to the Etsy people, message Etsy, talk to people, find out if anyone else is having this problem. That's fine. But don't spend all your energy with all this negativity. It doesn't help, because the thing is, the shops that are doing well are not sitting on the forums complaining about doing badly. And it's like this with everything, especially on the internet. For every 10 people that are happy, possibly only one of them will say they're happy, possibly only one of them will give a happy review. But if anyone's unhappy, you're going to hear them complain. You're going to see the 1-star review. So don't give so much weight to the negativity. Your energy is best spent somewhere else. And number 10 of the reasons why most people are failing, and that is giving up. You could just be steps away from glory. Building online presence is like pushing a snowball up a hill. It's hard work and you don't see much benefit from it, and you keep going and you keep shoving and you keep shoving, and it's getting harder and harder and you're seeing less. But suddenly you get to the top of the hill with this giant snowball. And if you'd have given up 2 steps before, you wouldn't see the awesomeness that's just about to happen. I know it's hard. It's hard to have faith in yourself. It's hard to have faith that you're going in the right direction. But I'll tell you, 5 or 6 years ago, I was where you were too. I was absolutely almost quitting. Not even almost quitting. I had actually said to myself, I was giving myself 1 more month to really look into SEO, to really give my shop a push, else I was stopping. I was giving up. I was that close. I was 1 month away from quitting. And I really got my head down. I did a bit of work. Rather than on the forums listening to the negative people, I went on the forums and listened to the people who were helping. I asked about SEO. I read about SEO. I did everything I could. I sat and watched YouTube videos on how to work my camera better. And you know what? At the end of that month, I was already doing better. By the end of that Christmas period, just those 3 months at the end of the year, my shop had done better than it had ever done in the previous 4 or 5 years. And since then, every single year, I've grown my shop. Now, yes, as I say, with the whole expectations, yes, I didn't immediately go from failing to making a living out of it. I grew exponentially to now that I'm at a stage where I'm terrifiedly, is that a word? It is now. I'm terrifiedly worried about the amount of orders coming in. It's so good. So the one thing that guarantees, 100% guarantees your shop will fail is if you give up. I know it's difficult, but I hope that helps. I can at least keep you inspired to keep going. And who knows, you might just be the step away from the edge of the hill. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time.